panel is going to be about on-demand, how broadcast networks are utilizing on-demand platforms in their advertising plans. So I'm going to go introduce our host and our moderator for today, which is Chris Bizzarro. And Chris is the head of product sales and marketing at Canoe, which is an advertising technology company that's focused on delivering inserted advertising into national television. So we're really getting into the real heart of the business of broadcast. It's very exciting. So I'm going to go introduce Chris. You guys keep up the business of content.
Yeah, for those of you guys who doesn't know, VoiceAmerica.com has been broadcasting live online since 1999. We have 8 genre-based channels of talk radio 24/7 and bringing it to you with 500 radio show hosts from around the world. So stay tuned as we follow the business of broadcast today at the Advanced Advertising Theater, and we're going to turn it over to the moderator of the event here.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Advanced Advertising Theater. Give yourselves a hand. This is the first Advanced Advertising Theater ever. NAB 26 is launching to really get into what's going on in our industry, which is that real integration of broadcast, content, sponsorships, advertising, MarTech, AdTech, and all these wonderful things. So today we're focusing on the business of broadcast, and I can't think of a better topic to kick off our session today than to really get into what's going on in on-demand and how on-demand is evolving to really match with modern consumer behaviors, modern content needs, and really working in different sponsorship models. So to take us through this exciting day is Chris Bizzarro, who has 25 years of experience in national media, strategy, marketing, and implementation. And I've known Chris for at least 10, 15 of those years. We started when we were 12. I know, I look fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. I can tell from your faces that you're like, no way, she's 12 years old now. Anyway, Chris has 25 years. He comes from Canoe, and he's head of product sales and marketing at Canoe. And Canoe is an advertising technology company focused on delivering dynamically inserted advertising to national TV. So Canoe really functions as the center of this fulcrum for all the networks to really move forward in this space. And Chris has a fantastic panel. So let's have a big hand getting into the business of broadcast on demand. Chris Bizzarro, take it away.
All right. Welcome everyone. Hope you have a great week here. I will just go down the line and let our panelists introduce themselves. As you see, they are in the thick of on-demand in terms of my business of cable video on-demand, but also the broader aspect of over-the-top and TV everywhere. And their own platforms when it comes to internet-delivered television. So it won't just be on demand in terms of VOD, but in terms of the consumer accessing their broadcast programming whenever and however they want, and of course the business/advertising associated with that. So I will go down the line and start with Chris Faulkner from NBCU.
Good morning, Chris Faulkner from NBC Broadcasting. Work on advanced TV, which kind of covers the gamut of everything that Chris was mentioning, from really monetizing all of our content in all the various places it can go.
I'm Dave Morris. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of CBS Interactive, and in my role I run ad sales for all of our digital properties, but also report to both the head of Interactive and head of TV sales. And as those two worlds have come closer and closer together, I spend a lot of time in both groups trying to figure out where advertising is going, how people want to run with us, and what channels. So a very busy time for sure.
My name is Josh Newman. I manage all of the ad tech and analytics for Fox Networks Group. That is also Josh Newman in the picture over there, but that's a guy who's running for Congress in the South in California. Very nice guy. I've traded emails with him in the past, and I think he provide equal time. We do. He actually got a nice gift basket from Costco that was for me. I let him keep it last Christmas, but I'll send him a note after this. Anyway, at Fox, we've created a new group called the Advanced Advertising Division, which is headed by my boss, a man named Joe Marchese, who was part of a company we bought called Truex. So we've really sort of taken a startup-oriented approach to on-demand advertising that I'll speak to during the panel.
And I'm John Curran. I'm the Director of Media Analytics at RSG Media. And RSG Media is really a data-driven solutions provider that helps to optimize schedules for media companies such as yourself. For instance, promo schedules and commercial schedules. So today what I'll be talking about is also how we're using that data to come up with plans to actually facilitate what you guys are trying to do with selling linear and VOD, OTT, and the rest of digital on the same to your advertisers across the board.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here. So, Chris, that going down order worked so well. I'll start off with you. Specifically, let's talk about this upfront season, because that really is the driver for broadcast in terms of the advertising side of the business. So what's your go-to-market strategy, again, as far as on-demand, but even broader, your entire upfront sales strategy?
Well, I don't sit in our sales organization, so I won't comment on specific things and mess up any of the discussions they're having. But our whole philosophy is that content is content. So if you are an advertiser and want to be in Blacklist or The Voice or The Kardashians or any one of the housewives, wherever that is, we provide the content. Wherever it is, we'll have advertisers that will run in all those places, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on an app in the iPad, or a connected over-the-top device, or the linear broadcast, or even the on-demand stuff in any of those forms. So, we look at content everywhere and sell across all those things. And then I think you've seen in all of the headlines over the past month or so that we'll also look and say, if you are interested in upscale women that are auto intenders, we'll find those across all of our platforms, all of our shows, and deliver those to you. So it doesn't matter. It's not just the 10 o'clock airing of Blacklist. It's Blacklist everywhere it is. It's all of our networks across the board.
And how is that going? I mean, is that the vision, or is that you're at an interim step at the beginning? Where are you in terms of that sort of delivering on that promise from a technical and operations from your point of view?
I think operationally we're ready to do these things. We've been working for years to, as Dave mentioned, the blending of linear television and quote unquote digital, getting those to work together. How do you take a campaign and let it run across all those platforms and make it easy for an advertiser? So we've been working on that for a long time, and I think we're there. I think we've been there for a while. The promise of all these other how do you buy, everybody's talking about it. The agencies are talking about it. The agencies are buying that way. I think it's a start.
Dave, same thing. How you guys going to see this up front? How do you see it playing out? It seems to be a robust upfront market, at least that's what some of the indicators are based upon the scatter market. How's the business looking from your point of view?
Sure. So from CBS's perspective, I'm in the sales group, so I think this panel is great because you get technology, how we take that technology and then sell advertising against it. What I won't be doing is giving you the CBS strategy for the upfront sales this year. I would not make it off this panel before a shot hit me right in the head. But we are predicting a robust upfront. Last year's upfront wasn't as strong. Going into this year, all the signals are great. The big broadcast advertisers, whether they be QSRs or packaged goods or cars, are spending right now. So economy is strong. The scatter market has been the most robust, biggest scatter market we've seen in terms of premiums in that market in years. So third and fourth and into first quarter, scatter market is great. So that leads to what we think is going to be a very strong upfront. The way we approach it, and that I can tell you, is that we work together side by side with the TV team and the digital team, sitting down, working with an advertiser to figure out how do they want to buy from CBS. Broadly against age demographics as their base, and then building on that base various levels of targeting, whether it be linear optimization or one-to-one addressability in all of our digital properties, OTT, VOD, online video, and we build what we call a pyramid. So at the top of that pyramid, you have first-party matches one-to-one, and at the bottom of that period, which is the base, and the big base is going to be demographic, age and demo. That's the way we see it transpiring. I can say that the VOD and OTT market is very robust. We're very excited about that marketplace today and into the near future. I think addressability, true one-to-one addressability at scale across every TV set is 5 years away. That's my prediction. In between now and then, there's going to be multiple steps and gradations of targeting on television or on the television screen. And I think VOD and OTT is one that we're most excited about right now, because it's a dynamic marketplace right now, where at least in VOD you can't change out the ad. Certainly in OTT you can. People are coming to it in droves. I see people all the time, outside our industry at cocktail parties. We'll talk about what's new and hot in TV, and I'll talk about OTT, and they're like, "What's that?" I said, "It stands for over the top." They go, "I don't do that." I'm like, "Do you watch Netflix?" They're like, "Yes." I'm like, "You do OTT." That's the Trojan horse. That's getting people comfortable with that platform. And as things like CBS All Access, CBSN, which are 2 OTT products we've got, come into that marketplace, we just see nothing but growth in OTT. So VOD and OTT, I think, is the next best place to be for targeting on TV, and we're all over it.
Well, I said after 25 plus years in the business, Laura, I said, my mother finally knows what I do. She said, "Oh, the Chris, he puts the ads in the on-demand." That's it. Now she finally knows what we do. We're good. So yes, that's the litmus test there. Josh, same thing. How are you guys setting yourselves up, both technically, business-wise, what you can speak to in terms of going into the upfront?
So I think, to put it in a frame that your mother would understand, we're thinking about how many of the ads to have you put in the OTT. When we bought the company TrueX, that is now fully integrated into the Fox Networks Group Advanced Advertising Group, we focused on their technology, which is the engagement ad. And they value human attention with the engagement ad by not having the advertisers pay unless someone fully engages with a piece of advertising for 30 seconds. And that creates a much different dynamic than's being offered by our digital competitors, YouTube, Facebook, etc. One, it gives advertisers a guaranteed interaction. Two, it changes the value exchange between the consumer, who's giving their attention in exchange for the content, by valuing it much more highly. And what I mean by that is that you essentially, when you get into a television ad load, that doesn't correlate to people's view of time on the internet. Things move much more quickly on the internet, and therefore you need to give them something of value much more quickly. You can watch a TrueX engagement ad or a Fox Networks Group engagement ad and get the whole rest of the stream ad-free by engaging up front. And the dynamic of the monetization actually works for us on that, because advertisers are willing to pay significant amounts in order to grab that human attention. So that's how we're thinking about it, that it's not about stuffing more advertising into these on-demand platforms, but it's about giving people a value exchange that makes sense in an internet world.
Where are you, same sort of thing in terms of the progression of that, so where is that available today? I would assume online, and no one's touching their TV set yet or something? Like where are we falling?
We're looking at, it's currently available on all of our IP-based on-demand platforms for Fox and FX, and it's available on Hulu as well, and we'll look to some of the OTT devices over the course of the next few quarters.
Great. So John, seeing where all these folks are, what do you see? What do you see the demand from the networks you work with or talk to?
Well, it's really interesting because it's really all about creating the probability of a conversion. And in this aspect, it's an advertiser. They want somebody to see an ad running on your network and actually purchasing what they're advertising. So you guys were talking about addressability and engagement, and how in the digital world it's a lot easier. It's easier right now to be able to hit that. But as you were talking about earlier, bringing that to linear with advanced advertising, stuff like Viacom Vantage, for Turner Audience Now, what you're doing with ATP at NBC, we've actually already seen success in linear when it comes to optimizing promo schedules. We've been working with Viacom, and they utilize our machine learning algorithms that literally run over 100,000 simulations before choosing the best result to optimize their schedules. And it's all about affinity. It's all about using the data to measure program affinity. If you watch this show and you also watch this show, let's say there's like the audience for Shannara, which is a new MTV show. Let's say 20% of them also watch Teen Wolf. Well, there you know at that point that there's a level of affinity. So if I air my Shannara promo in Teen Wolf, I have a more higher probability of converting those folks who are watching Teen Wolf that aren't currently watching Shannara. And I feel like that's when it goes into advertising as well. Is what you can do is you can say that, you know, when moms that are currently are buying Pampers but are open to buying Huggies tend to watch these shows, and you can prove that to your advertisers. In a linear marketplace, that's something we haven't been able to do before. It's always been age gender, but now you're moving past age gender. I know we're talking a lot about digital right now, but linear, where all the really huge budgets are still coming into digital, like you said, 5 years from now, who knows? It may overtake OTT, and VOD may overtake.
Now, 5 years from now, it's all one thing.
Yeah, right.
It's not overtaking, it's just it.
Right. So, I mean, my question to you guys is really, what is the important data that you see out there? Because we work with data, and we're really data agnostic, even though we've been working in this industry for a long time, and we have our preferences, we understand it, we understand what you guys need out of it. But in your opinions, what do you think is the most valuable data for your advertisers, like to be able to prove from your program?
I'll speak for the advertisers that I talk to every day, meetings that we've had for the past 3 months, because Turner, Viacom, Fox recently announced with Clipped, I think, is your partner. You guys have been talking about it for a year. Linear optimization of network television is a big, hot topic. Last year in the upfront, Jack Myers said that less than 1% of upfront dollars transacted on that data. This year it'll be more. But the question is it 2 or 3 or 4%? It's not going to be 5, 6, 10%. So it could be triple, but it's still 97% going to be on age and demo, I believe. But we're talking about a $70 billion marketplace, so each basis point is worth a lot of money. So as that grows, it becomes an important market that we're paying attention to. The problem is this. When we talk to all these different companies, we're talking about walled gardens of our own indexes against our own data. And all those indexes, therefore, are different. So a 130 on CBS indexed against moms who buy Huggies, and a 130 that you might have could be different because your inputs are different. And doing it against indexes against network television with shows average 10, 12 million viewers versus cable where it might be under 1 million, again, those indexes are very hard to run across. So here's my point. We need a platform that advertisers, agencies can plug into where they can see like data sets. So to your answer, we need data sets that work across all the networks and cable companies so that people can plug into it, and then we can bring in bespoke or customized data. Certainly we're going to bring in our pricing, and we can only allow certain advertisers to look at our first-party data. But we need a baseline of data across that people can buy against. We need a buying platform that does not exist today. And until it exists, it's going to be very hard for agencies to optimize schedules, because you can't optimize across the plan if everybody has different inputs and therefore different outputs.
And everyone's essentially grading their own homework then in that case, right? If you're putting in your inputs and you have your results, there's kind of no way to, like you said, unless there's some sort of standards base, then how are you going to...
Yeah, I mean, optimization of linear TV is good for both parties. It helps us run our inventory more efficiently, so therefore we have less waste. That's a good thing. It helps our clients target better. So this is like, you know, clean air. Everybody wants it. It makes sense. It's just hard to get there today.
Lori seems to have a question from the audience, so fire away.
Right. Just a quick question, and to your point on data sets, as a content developer, you know, trying to obviously get our content across these platforms, obviously each of the platforms has different requirements and sizes, and so if you're looking to create information that's coming from a common source, so i.e. a piece of content or an advertising campaign or so, that what we create as creators, what would you say would be like the optimal package of content we could create in order for you to use that one, you know, idea in order to gain this, I would say, credible reflection on data points from the different platforms?
It's a great question, which I don't entirely understand, so I'm going to turn to Chris to answer that one.
Are you talking about a piece of content? Are you talking about the data points associated with that content.
Well, I'm trying to reflect to his point on we need data sets, and I'm thinking that as a content developer, sorry, I'm a communicator, that's terrible. So as a content developer, I've got a story I want to share, and I want it to get across all these platforms. But I know, you need the 3 seconds for the advertising banners, you need the 30 seconds for the commercial, etc. I'm asking for your advice about what ideally we can create as deliverables on a story to allow you to use your data set or your, well, do you get it?
Chris,
So
might be around
I think
metadata.
I can partially answer it, and maybe I'll hone in on what you're asking. I think program content itself, so the actual show itself, obviously different. I'll call them devices, different ways people watch them. They want different, lengths of content and different things. If you're watching that giant thing hanging on your wall, you might sit for an hour. And look, we do linear television. It's really hard to do linear television if you have shows that are 7 minutes and 36 seconds long. Things go to hours, and we change shows at the half hour or the hour. So there's different lengths of content. I think the data sets we're talking about are more looking at the advertising itself and different devices. A little bit immaterial whether it's a 3-second ad or a 5-second ad that's running on your phone. It's more the fact that it's on your phone, and I have a certain amount of information I can get back from a phone that tells me about the viewer. And again, a phone is kind of a one-to-one generally, although I've seen people huddled around a phone, like 5 people all watching the same funny video, versus again the big screen in your living room. That's often a shared experience, or more likely to be a shared experience, and may have different sets of data. I don't necessarily know everything. I may know about what house that television is sitting in and what it's displaying. I probably don't have a one-to-one of saying that this is Chris sitting in front of this television watching this show. Right now, I think some of those data sets are coming online. More and more connected TVs have capabilities of understanding what's displayed. Irrespective of where it's coming from, it doesn't really care if you're watching input A, which is your cable, or whether you're in HDMI 3, which is your Roku or your Apple TV or whatever. If you're displaying the Kardashians, it knows you're watching the Kardashians. So I think those are some of the data sets we're talking about from an advertising perspective, of being able to say, this person or this collection of people saw this ad and they have these characteristics around them. So, did I fake it and get close? No, not at all. And not at all.
We'll come back to it. It's
oftentimes creators will create these words, 3-second banner, and then a whole new set of creators
on a different topic will create for the commercial.
You're talking about an advertiser itself. So let's just pull one out. General Motors making a 3-second bump, a 30-second ad for TV, a 2-minute interactive experience for digital. Is it
helpful for creators to think beyond just producing for online or just producing a commercial, but actually to create on this story?
I'll answer, and then these guys can correct me. But I think just like we talked about, that different devices have different usage patterns and usage characteristics. People have different tolerances for what ad creative should be. If you're going to watch a 3-minute clip of Jimmy Fallon, please don't run me a 2-minute ad before the 3-minute clip. I'm not going to be happy about that. So certainly different devices, different, physical screen sizes. If I'm looking at my iPhone and you have text that's like 2 pixels tall, it's not really very helpful to me. But on my 60-inch television, I might be able to read it. So certainly ad creators need to think about the different devices, think about the content they're going to be paired with, and create creative that meshes well with that.
Josh, Howard, that you have this creative tact, how do you guys handle the creative with your less is more theory? Is this in-house? Do you look to outside creators? How do you?
The company that we purchased, TrueX, almost 2 years ago now, has in-house creative teams, and they can take either basic assets from an agency or an advertiser and work with the agency to do the interactive ad, or they can do an overall sort of soup to nuts development process where they create that advertising. But I think, you know, it speaks to one of the biggest challenges that the industry faces, which is just a poor advertising experience in general on nonlinear devices. When you sit in front of, you know, Hulu or Fox Now and get the same ad multiple times in the experience in a stream, that's not good for consumers. And there's a bit of a lack of creative diversity. The number of creatives that a shop will give us, you know, all of these things need to be part of the overall conversation. And I think, you know, my boss has said that ad blockers are one of the best things that's happened to the industry. And that's obviously not necessarily true from a revenue perspective, but his point is that we need to take it back down to zero and get it to a point where that exchange between the consumer and the content provider is equal again, right? So that they are giving their attention, which has tremendous value, and getting something valuable in exchange for it, and not being annoyed by the advertising, not being given overly repetitious advertising, and that everybody's sort of happy with that exchange as it exists.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Lori, get a mic over here, but we're going to go to John and then we'll...
Oh, no. I'd like to hear your question.
Tribune Media, David Murray. The currency, the data currency, what's the blocker? Where's the walls? When do the walls come down? It seems like a chicken and egg.
Speak to that a little bit. I think a lot of it comes down to the relationships with the distributors, with the MVPDs, who have traditionally viewed the end consumer as their consumer. The broadcaster did just that for decades. You sent your stuff out, and where it went was defined by a single company in Nielsen, and if there was a credit card relationship or a direct consumer relationship, that was with the distributor, the MVPD, your Time Warner, your Comcast, etc. That's all changing, and I think that when we do our renewal discussions, we as Fox Networks Group have pushed the envelope on the data discussions, on the advertising discussions with our distributors. But it's going to be a whole new world where data is just another value point, right? Where the distributors don't have the stranglehold on it because they can't. Whether it's Netflix, Amazon, Apple, or whether it's Fox, CBS, NBC, everybody will be able to get some data and contribute it to the pie. I think, you know, the problem is that we don't have that single standardized view and the ability for everybody to collectively agree on how that gets put into a proposal.
What drives that? I mean, where does that? What drives it? I mean, where's the funnel going to come together?
Buyers drive that. So right now, Nielsen is currency. Nielsen will remain the currency until there's a new currency. And yeah, we've been pushing Nielsen, everybody's been pushing Nielsen to do new, different, more innovative things, to measure different screens and different ways people consume, whether it be out of home or on devices or on OTT and VOD. Nielsen's not there. So I think what will drive that is RentTrack, ComScore, that combination, two big companies coming together, that can give Nielsen some competition that they heretofore have not had. So I hear all the time that agencies and buyers are willing to take a look at a different currency of payment until we actually get the RFP or do the deal or go to the upfront and it's Nielsen on demo. So you hear a lot of things in meetings, you hear a lot of things on panels of things that are, would be great, but they're not really reality in terms of what we face every day in the marketplace. So Nielsen is it until I think somebody like ComScore RentTrack comes along, combination of new company, bringing impression-based data and impression-based measurement that is we've been very comfortable with billing off of in the digital side for years and years, so I think that can drive some competition, but it's still Nielsen.
Yeah, so John, you help these broadcasters take all these other data points, sell a little differently, but it does come down to the currency. So do you see folks or the networks being to sell on the insights, or is it still just come down to a Nielsen currency?
And that's the thing, and yes, so you are, like networks are obviously selling on it, but like I was speaking to before, it's like, I have a friend who works in Mindshare, heads up the Amex group, and he was telling me, he asked me, John, is this, like I said before, the Viacom Vantage, the NBC ATP, the advanced targeting, is that real? And I told him, yes, it is real. I've seen the data, it's not smoke and mirrors. And then his problem is that, like what you said, first party data. I'm going to guarantee you this, and then I'm going to deliver this to you. So what you really need is, like what you were talking about earlier, a company to come in, which we are actually working with a couple of our clients right now, and media agencies and networks, to actually put all that data at least in the same platform, so you can look at it side by side. And freewheel data and all other data sources, like people are kind of like, you don't get the same measurement for the same show from the same source, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's what you have to have. You have to come to a common ground, and then people are going to buy and sell it, and it'll be the true new currency. But until then, you can optimize based on the current currency. Just for Nielsen demographic data, for one of our clients, we are actually optimizing their commercial logs, just placing units that are associated with deals that have guaranteed demos into a better performing position on the log within their deal constraints. Just making slight moves, and we saved them over $10 million last year. And they brought in about $400 million in ROS inventory. So I mean, that's a pretty good lift right there. That's driving down liability. So there are things that you still can do. You can use data to optimize, and once the currency is there, well then sky's the limit.
So we don't necessarily have this holy grail of the world changed, but there's pockets of successes that are going on.
Well, what do you think about Nielsen's total ratings point? What do you guys think about what they're coming out with?
John, what's with the questions? I'm the moderator.
I'm interested. I want to hear from them.
Anything that measures across screen, so total rating point across all screens, and all channels within those screens, OTT versus VOD, separate, online video, mobile versus desktop. When we get there, that's great. I mean, because then we're getting paid for everything that we put out there. We're getting paid for everything we put there now. We're just doing it across two different currencies, impression-based and demo-based. And we'd love to see it be one currency. It would make buying across all platforms that much easier, but they're doing it today, and they're doing it pretty successfully today. I mean, agencies have been optimizing TV plans for years. That's what they do. That's part of their secret sauce. So now today, with better data sets, more data, better data management platforms, that's just going to get better. And the targeting against shows and day parts will just get better. And we're all for that. That's good stuff. It's all part of this gradation to pure addressability. There are going to be really nice steps along the way that make the TV marketplace that much more robust.
And funny you bring that one up, Dave, that for those of us who've been around in TV for a whole bunch of years on the advertising side, right? Some people say, well, not that much has changed, right? I used to know who car auto intenders were, but it may have come from a Simmons study. And I think the key now is that Simmons study would maybe be 3 or 6 months old. Whereas there's some new data that someone could buy or purchase that might be, they know what auto intenders were yesterday or the day before, right? So it's more about it quicker, better, faster, coming into the system, you guys helping these folks optimize on that. So that's what I'm hearing is it's, not much has changed, but a lot has changed because you can react much quicker and deliver that way.
And again, Chris, we're able to use people's first-party data. If it's American Express, that somebody mentioned American Express. If it's American Express as the advertiser, American Express knows a lot about their customers and a lot about the people who aren't their customers that they want to be their customers. And we're now able, and I say we, I think the royal we here are able to use that type of data now, whereas before you may not have been able to use that. And actually, so I think it's about more sets of data. Dave said it, it's incremental change. It's not going to be a waterfall where, on X date, suddenly we're all going to transact on a different data set. There's going to be pieces of transactions, there's going to be pieces of business that move. I mean, I think we'll see stuff in the upfront this year. We've seen stuff in other markets that are moving using this technology, and that's what's different, is that we're now able to take in so much more data and process it and do better targeting.
So we've heard a few different answers. Yeah, we've heard a few different answers to your question, being some is cable operator data, some is client data, some is data that these guys individually have from their networks. Dave, I assume you guys own CNET. I mean, I assume you have some digital data that you can read in also?
No short supply of data.
No short supply. So it really is all of the above, is sort of where it plays out. Yeah, question?
Fear from MDocs, Fear Daniel. I have a question about privacy. When we talk about using the data that customers maybe have browsed on their websites or coming from Toyota or from American Express, what happens in essence of privacy? Do the end user have to opt in to a personalized advertising program? Do they have to say, you can use my data to target me?
Great. So Josh, maybe from a Truex point of view, because you guys actually ask people to opt in and even give you information, how do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, again, it comes down to value exchange, right? That when a consumer is providing information, whether it's passively or actively, they have to be aware that they're doing that. And we have very strict privacy agreements on all of our interactive experiences. A consumer should never be surprised to see an ad that's related to something that they've browsed or looked at in some other environment. They should never have the experience that borders on creepy, right? And we work very hard to prevent that. And that again comes down to the value of the engagement ad, because you can gather information just by how people interact with the ad. You don't need their email address, you don't need their name, you don't need anything that comes even anywhere close to PII. And that definition of PII is constantly changing based on regulations, based on what's happening in the courts. So, giving someone a valuable experience, something that is not annoying, I think is the first step, right? And that allows them to feel more comfortable to say, okay, well, let me choose this advertisement. Whether they're doing something like that where you can choose an advertiser on Hulu, right? That just provides a simple data set that you can then extrapolate from and drive incremental value without ever making someone feel like their privacy's been violated.
Dave, great question. What's CBS's approach?
From a CBS Interactive perspective, we have privacy agreements on all of our websites. So again, people are not surprised by how we track them. We explain it, and if they're on our sites, they know what's happening. But as long as the data is anonymized and it's not against a name and address, but an IP address, and that we're respectful of PII, then that's fine. So we don't see there's a major concern. All the partners that we talk to in the data world that bring data in, either mobile, because we've been talking to a lot of people about mobile data because that data set is harder to get. They'll give you 20-minute chapter and verse on privacy and how they work through all the privacy angles. So very respectful of people's personal information, private information, and just need to be very careful on how we advertise to those people. But it's anonymous data is what we're looking at.
And I do know from our Canoe point of view that all of the cable video on demand ads we place for all these fine gentlemen, we're adhered to the Cable Act of 1984, which is privacy on device ID, household ID, all sorts of reams and reams of legal that we go against. So we can't even pass those things on to their tech stacks, right? So that's held within Canoe, and we just pass on to them, again, anonymized impression data. So we're held to that Cable Act of 1984. All right, switch gears a little bit, and there are, even right here, there's folks like Wide Orbit or Syntech Media, and there's Freewheel and Google DFP, various campaign managers or ad decision engines that can drive this business. And also those are now opening up to marketplaces. So Chris, maybe start with you in terms of what are those hooks today? How do you utilize these companies on the digital side, on the linear side? Is there going to be one that will rule all from a technical point of view, or where do all these folks fit into this?
Good luck with that.
That's a real easy question there, Chris. So, look, we currently we have a system that is our linear television system, and then we have a system, Freewheel, that is all of our digital properties. So, at the moment, they have not merged together. I think we've talked about this continuum of getting to addressable advertising. If everything moves to one-to-one advertising, and I'm not saying it will or in the next 2 years, there are systems that are designed to handle that. I mean, if that's what essentially Freewheel is built to do, or any of the digital ad platforms are meant to, I have an ad slot, tell me what ad I should put in the slot, drop that ad in and do it. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, absolutely. Dave, same
our
thing?
perspective, because we run a large digital business, half for years, we've been in the programmatic space for 6 or 7 years, and we have an amazing amount of ad tech companies in between our content and the consumer. And they're all taking money along the way, and it drives us crazy, but we cannot do business without them. They're good partners. They help us on our yield management. They help us on our data. They help us on getting the ads to the right place at the right time. So it's, MarTech and AdTech is a necessary part of our business. I won't say necessary evil, because a lot of my friends are in that business. It's a necessary part of our business. What we don't want to see in the TV business, which has been a very straightforward business, an extremely profitable business for the broadcasters, we don't want to see 50, 100, 200 companies in ad tech and martech move in between the broadcaster and the consumer, taking a piece of that dollar every step of the way. So while I'll talk to, and we talk to all these companies here, we don't do business with most of them because they don't do it for free. We do business with the ones that we've had relationships with for a long time. We're pushing them to optimize, integrate, and innovate all the time, and they are. And then when someone comes along and has a new or better idea, better mousetrap, we're going to take a look at it, and if it works, we're going to buy it. But for verification, for viewability, for fraud detection, for ad blocking detection and ad blocking recovery, and 10 other things, we're doing business with companies that we never did business with before, spending millions of dollars a year in that kind of ad tech. I don't know how small publishers do it. Small, long-tail publishers, they can't do all this stuff. They don't have the budget for it. So it's a necessary part of what we do. I think it separates us from a lot out there in terms of our ability to identify and avoid fraud, to provide fantastic viewability across all these screens. All this stuff's important stuff. Programmatic Guaranteed is a beta program from Google, DoubleClick. DoubleClick's our ad server. We're not on Freewheel. We're the only network not on Freewheel. Freewheel is owned by NBC Comcast. That might be one of the reasons, I don't know. And I love the Freewheel people. They're good people, good friends of mine. And we're talking because there is a Chinese firewall between Freewheel and the rest of what they do. Believe me, and I believe that. So we're talking to all these different companies out there, and who does the best at getting these ads out there. Here's the deal. In television, consumers expect a 5-9 experience. You know what 5 nines is? 99.999% of the time, that ad runs flawlessly. And if you're on TV, 5 nines is the standard. When you're on the internet, if the ad happens to load and run right side up, it's fantastic. I'm kidding. We run our ads across all these platforms, but the internet obviously can be a little bit kludgier depending on, are you on 3G or 4G or LTE? Are you on your iPad or your phone or your desktop? And it's a lot about the connectivity into your home, not necessarily how we're ad serving it. So we're pushing DoubleClick for automation, and they are delivering that. Programmatic Guaranteed is a way to bring automation, and it's a direct sold program. We direct sell it. We match up the seller with the advertiser, and then we hand it off to Google in a Programmatic Guaranteed pilot that we're in, and it saves on the I/O, it saves on pricing, which is already in the system, and it saves on a lot of back and forth manual emails and paperwork, and that we're excited about and looking at as, that's an iteration of where they might head towards more automation in video delivery. So a lot of good companies out there. We talk to them all. We use very few of them, and the ones that we do use, we expect a 9/9 delivery across our digital platforms and our linear platforms, and we get that.
Which is, by the way, the terms in my service agreement to CBS is 99.99. Josh, same thing in terms of campaign managers and systems you utilize?
I would say for us, the biggest thing is to simplify the tech stack, right? That we don't want to create a Frankenstein of best in breed here for this piece and best in breed here for that piece. That consistency for advertisers, the ability to have a single insertion order flow through all of our nonlinear platforms, including set-top box VOD, including Hulu, and including all of our owned and operated digital properties, and that same advertising can then float onto things like our content on Xfinity. That can all be done through a single system. For us, that system is freewheel. So for all of our video advertising, one IO, one piece of creative, press a button and it goes to all of those different platforms. That said, we need to be able to innovate, so that happens through our team and looking at all of the new partners out there. But I think we're at a stage where what people want is that consistency of delivery. They want to be able to ensure that what they buy actually happens, and that's something we focus on at Fox.
All right, well, we're about out of time. To sum up, hopefully you got that the TV broadcast business is absolutely robust. As far as advanced advertising playing in there, I think we see a lot of, I'd call it beyond test and learn. I mean, we're actually doing things. Maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of the business right now. But I think, as you pointed out, Dave, even 1% of 90, can be a significant amount of business. So with that, thank you everyone for your attention, and have a great show. Thank you.
Let's have a hand for our panelists, everybody. And our friend Sean is walking around with the jar. If you want to put your business card in, we're going to be sharing all these podcasts today because we